My name is Chisom Okafor and I am from Onitsha in Anambra State, Nigeria. For 12 years, I served as a midnight operations specialist in one of the most feared covens along the Niger River. My specific assignment was to execute witchcraft operations during the midnight hour, the 60 minutes between 12 a.m. and 1 a.m. when spiritual activity reaches its peak. I knew exactly how to navigate the spiritual atmosphere at that hour. I knew how to plant assignments that would take root in people's lives. I knew how to destroy destinies while their owners slept peacefully, unaware of what was happening to them. But there were 4 verses that absolutely terrified us, 4 specific scriptures that certain Christians would declare at midnight that completely destroyed every assignment we launched. When believers spoke these verses during the midnight hour, our operations collapsed, our assignments backfired, our plans turned to ashes. Jesus Christ set me free. And now I expose every secret of the kingdom of darkness. Today I am going to reveal these 4 midnight verses to you. These are not random scriptures that I selected because they mention night or darkness. These are the exact words that made certain Christians completely untouchable during the hour when we had maximum power. The midnight hour can become your hour of total victory instead of your hour of greatest vulnerability. If you have been experiencing attacks that seem to happen while you sleep, this message is for you. If you wake up in the morning feeling like something happened to you during the night, this message is for you. If your life seems to be under a pattern of destruction that you cannot break, this message is for you. If you have been fighting battles that never seem to end, no matter how much you pray, this message is for you. If you sense that the enemy is working against you in ways you cannot see, this message is for you. In the kingdom of darkness, we had a saying. We said that midnight is the throne room of witchcraft. What did we mean by this? We meant that the midnight hour is when witches and demons have maximum authority to operate. The veil between the spiritual and physical realms is thinnest at midnight. Assignments planted at this hour have the greatest chance of taking root. Attacks launched at this hour meet the least resistance. That is why every serious coven conducts its most important operations at midnight. We did not meet at random times. We gathered precisely at 12 a.m. because that is when our power was greatest. That is when we could accomplish things that would be impossible at any other hour. But some Christians had learned to meet us at midnight with weapons we could not defeat. They would wake up at 12 a.m. and declare scriptures that completely neutralized everything we were doing. And today, I reveal those verses to you. The first midnight verse is Psalm 91, verses 5 and 6. These verses say, "Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day, nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday." In our coven, we call this verse the terror counselor because it specifically addressed what we did at night. We were the terror by night. We were the pestilence walking in darkness. When Christians declared this verse at midnight, it was like they were speaking directly to us and canceling our authority. Let me tell you about a family named the Eze family from Nsukka. The Eze family had been targeted by our coven because the father, Chief Is, had refused to participate in a land ritual that would have given us spiritual access to an entire community. Yet when he refused, our Queen Mother declared that his family would pay the price for his defiance. She assigned me personally to execute midnight operations against them. For 3 months, I attacked this family every night at exactly 12 a.m. I would project my spirit to their home and plant assignments of sickness, confusion, financial loss, and family division. I would speak curses over their children while they slept. I would place spiritual traps in their compound that would trigger accidents and misfortune. The results were devastating. Chief Eze's business began to fail. His eldest son was involved in a car accident that left him hospitalized for weeks. His wife developed a mysterious illness that doctors could not diagnose. His youngest daughter started having terrible nightmares every night. The family was falling apart, exactly as we planned. Then something changed. A visiting evangelist came to their church and taught about Psalm 91. He explained that verses 5 and 6 specifically address night terrors and spiritual attacks that come in darkness. He instructed the congregation to wake up at midnight and declare these verses over their lives and families. Chief Ez took this instruction seriously. That very night, he set his alarm for midnight. When it rang, he gathered his entire family in the living room. His wife, despite her illness, came. She was weak and could barely walk, but she came. His eldest son, still recovering from the accident, came. He was on crutches, but he came. His youngest daughter, the one plagued by nightmares, came. She was afraid, but she came. Together at exactly 12 a.m., they declared out loud, "We shall not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day, nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday." I was in the spirit realm, preparing to launch that night's attack. When I heard them speak these words, I had been doing this for 3 months. I knew their house intimately. I knew where every family member slept. I knew the spiritual weaknesses I had exploited. I was confident that this would be another routine night of destruction. I was wrong. What happened next still haunts me to this day. The moment they spoke the verse, a shield appeared around their house. It was not a shield made of metal or stone. It was a shield made of the very words they were speaking. The scripture formed a barrier that extended from the ground to the sky and completely surrounded their property. The words of Psalm 91 hung in the air like a wall of fire. They pulsed with power. They glowed with authority. I tried to approach to plant my usual assignments. The moment I touched the shield, I was thrown backward with tremendous force. It was like touching an electric fence, but 1,000 times more powerful. I flew through the air and landed far from their property. Pain shot through my entire being. The words of Psalm 91 were alive. They were active. They were aggressive. They were defending this family with a ferocity I had never encountered. I tried again from a different angle. I circled the house looking for a weak point, perhaps the back of the house, perhaps a window they had forgotten to cover with their declaration. Same result. The shield was complete. Every angle was protected. I tried to go through the roof, blocked. The shield extended higher than I could fly. I tried to go through the ground, tunneling beneath the house, blocked. The shield extended deep into the earth. There was no gap. There was no weakness. There was no entry point. For 2 hours, I circled their house, looking for any way to continue my assignment. Inside, the family had finished their declaration and gone back to sleep. They had no idea that a witch was outside desperately trying to break through their defenses. They slept peacefully while I exhausted myself against their shield. Finally, I had to return to our coven meeting and report complete failure. Our queen mother was furious. She sent 3 other witches with me. The next night, all 4 of us attacked simultaneously from different directions. None of us could penetrate the shield. The Eze family was inside their house, declaring Psalm 91, verses 5 and 6, completely unaware that 4 witches were outside trying desperately to break through their defenses. This continued for 40 nights. Every single night, the Eze family gathered at midnight to declare this verse. Every single night, we failed to execute our assignments. By the 40th night, our queen mother called off the attack. She declared that any family that has learned to deploy Psalm 91 at midnight is beyond our reach. The transformation in the Eze family was remarkable. Chief Eze's son recovered completely from his accident. His wife's mysterious illness vanished without any medical treatment. His daughter's nightmares stopped permanently. His business not only recovered but expanded into new territories. Everything we had destroyed was restored, and everything we had planned was cancelled. Psalm 91 verses 5 and 6 is powerful because it directly addresses the categories of night attacks. Terror by night, arrows that fly by day, pestilence walking in darkness, destruction at noonday. When you declare this verse at midnight, you are specifically cancelling every type of attack the enemy can launch during the night hours. To activate this verse, set an alarm for midnight tonight. When it rings, wake up and speak Psalm 91, verses 5 and 6 out loud. Speak it over yourself. Speak it over your family. Speak it over your home. Declare that you shall not be afraid of any terror the enemy sends at night. Do this consistently for at least 40 nights and watch the shield build around your life. Let me also tell you about Pastor Sunday from Oka. Pastor Sunday was a young minister who had started a deliverance church. Many people were being set free from demonic bondage through his ministry, and this made our coven very angry. The Queen Mother assigned me to shut down his ministry by attacking him personally at midnight. Every night at 12 a.m., I would enter his bedroom and plant spirits of doubt, discouragement, and confusion. I wanted him to lose his faith. I wanted him to question his calling. I wanted him to give up on ministry entirely. For 2 weeks, my attacks seemed to be working. Pastor Sunday became increasingly discouraged. He started doubting whether God had really called him. He considered closing the church and getting a regular job, and he was on the verge of spiritual collapse. Then his wife noticed what was happening. She remembered learning about Psalm 91 and suggested they start declaring it at midnight together. Pastor Sunday agreed. That night, when I arrived at their bedroom at 12 a.m. to continue my attacks, I found them both awake, holding hands and declaring, "We shall not be afraid for the terror by night." The words hit me like physical blows. Each word pushed me further away from their bed. By the time they finished the verse, I was completely outside their house, unable to enter. I tried for 3 more nights. Same result every time. Pastor Sunday's discouragement lifted. His faith returned stronger than before. His church grew rapidly and became one of the most powerful deliverance ministries in Anambra State. The attack that was meant to destroy him became the catalyst for his greatest breakthrough. Right now, I want you to go to the comments and write, "I cancel every terror by night." When you write that, you are not just typing words. You are making a legal declaration in the spirit realm. You are announcing to every demon assigned to attack you at midnight that you have discovered the power of Psalm 91. Do not just watch this video and move on. Participate. Write it in the comments. I cancel every terror by night. Your breakthrough starts with your declaration. The second midnight verse is Psalm 119, verse 62. This verse says, "At midnight I will rise to give thanks unto thee because of thy righteous judgments." In our coven, we called this verse the atmosphere shifter because when Christians declared it at midnight, it completely changed the spiritual atmosphere around them. Thanksgiving at midnight releases a frequency that demons cannot tolerate. It shifts the environment from darkness to light, from oppression to freedom, from the enemy's territory to God's territory. Let me tell you about a businesswoman named Madame Chinyer from Newi. Madame Chinyer owned a successful textile trading business. She had built it from nothing over 20 years, and it had become one of the largest textile distributors in the Southeast. Her success attracted the attention of jealous competitors, and 3 of them came to our coven, asking us to destroy her business. I was assigned to lead the midnight operations against her. The strategy was to attack her business at exactly 12 a.m. every night. We would send spirits of customers scattered to drive away our buyers. We would send spirits of bad decisions to make her invest in worthless stock. We would send spirits of employee betrayal to turn her workers against her. For the first 2 months, our attacks were highly effective. Madame Chinyere's regular customers started buying from older traders without understanding why. She made several bad investments that cost her millions of naira. 2 of her most trusted employees stole from her and disappeared. Her business was declining rapidly. Then Madame Chinyere attended a women's conference where a prophetess taught about Psalm 119, verse 62. The prophetess explained that thanksgiving at midnight is one of the most powerful weapons in spiritual warfare. She said that when you rise at midnight to give thanks instead of complaining, you release an atmosphere that demons cannot survive in. Madame Chinyere decided to try it. That night, instead of sleeping through the midnight hour, she woke up at 12 a.m. She went to her living room, sat in her favorite chair, and did something that felt strange at first. Instead of praying for her problems, she simply gave thanks. She thanked God for her life. She was still alive despite everything the enemy had thrown at her. She thanked God for her family. Her husband and children were healthy and supportive. She thanked God for the business she had left, even though it was declining. At least she still had something. She thanked God for the roof over her head. She thanked God for food on her table. She thanked God for his righteous judgments, even though she did not fully understand what was happening or why. At first, the thanksgiving felt forced. Her mind wanted to complain. Her heart wanted to cry out about her problems, but she pushed through and continued giving thanks. I was in position to launch that night's attack when she began her thanksgiving. I had been attacking her business for 2 months. I knew her patterns. I knew her weaknesses. I knew exactly which spirits to send and how to position them for maximum damage. I was prepared for yet another successful night of destruction. The moment she started thanking God, the spiritual atmosphere around her house transformed. It was like watching darkness flee from light. One moment, the air around our property was thick with demonic presence. The next moment, something was pushing us out. The thanksgiving was creating a force field that expanded outward from where she sat. The air became thick with something we could not penetrate. It was not the usual resistance we felt when people prayed against us. This was different. This was an atmosphere that rejected our very presence. We could not even stay near the property, let alone enter it. I tried to send the spirits of customers scatter. They approached the edge of our property and could not go further. The atmosphere of thanksgiving was like a wall they could not pass. I tried to send the spirits of bad decisions. They were repelled before they reached her door. I tried to send the spirits of betrayal. They fled before they even reached her property, screaming that the atmosphere was banning them. Her thanksgiving was not just words. It was a weapon. Each thank you was like a sword, cutting through our operations. Each expression of gratitude was like fire burning our assignments. The more she thanked God, the stronger the force field became. By the time she finished her 15 minutes of thanksgiving, her entire property was covered in an atmosphere that no demon could survive in. I returned to our coven meeting in complete frustration. I reported that Madame Chinyere had discovered thanksgiving warfare and that our attacks were being neutralized. The Queen Mother sent reinforcements. 5 witches attacked together the next night. All of us failed. The atmosphere of thanksgiving was impenetrable. Madame Chinyere continued her midnight thanksgiving for 90 days straight. By the end of those 90 days, our business had not only recovered, but had doubled in size. Customers returned in greater numbers than before. New buyers appeared from states where she had never done business. Her employees became loyal and hardworking. The bad investments somehow turned profitable. Today, Madame Chinyere is one of the wealthiest textile traders in Nigeria. She employs over 200 people. She has built a church and a school in her community. And it all started with one verse declared at midnight with thanksgiving in her heart. Psalm 119 verse 62 is powerful because it transforms your posture at midnight. Instead of being a victim who is attacked, you become a worshiper who shifts atmospheres. The enemy expects to find you sleeping or fearful at midnight. When he finds you giving thanks instead, it disrupts everything he planned to do. To activate this verse, wake up at midnight and spend at least 15 minutes giving thanks. Do not pray for your problems. Do not complain about your situation. Simply thank God for what you have, for who He is, for what He has done. Let thanksgiving fill your mouth at the hour when witches expect curses to be most effective. Watch how the atmosphere around your life shifts. I have to be honest with you. Every time I share stories like Madame Chinyere's, something stirs in me. Guilt, regret. Because I was the one coordinating those attacks. I was the one sending spirits to destroy her business. I was the one trying to take away everything she had built over 20 years. And now I see the damage I caused, and I want to undo every bit of it. That is why I want to tell you about something called the 21-day breakthrough protocol. It is a complete system to identify and destroy the 7 main assignments that were most commonly used against Christians when I was operating in darkness. And this protocol was developed by believers who understand spiritual warfare. And I myself went through this protocol after my deliverance. It was part of my healing process, learning how to recognize and break every assignment I had ever participated in, learning how to walk in the freedom that Jesus purchased for me. If the Israel family had known about this protocol earlier, they might not have suffered for 3 months before discovering Psalm 91. If Madame Chinyere had gone through these 21 days at the beginning, she might have avoided losing millions of naira to our attacks. The link is in the description. Do not wait. The enemy does not wait. If your nights have been under attack, if midnight has been the enemy's hour in your life, write in the comments, I shift atmospheres with thanksgiving. Make that declaration today. Start thanking God at midnight tonight and watch how everything around you begins to change. Let me tell you about another businessman named Chief Obiora from Onitsha. Chief Obiora ran a spare parts business in the famous Onitsha main market. His business was thriving until competitors hired our coven to destroy him. For 6 months, we attacked him at midnight every night. His sales dropped by 70%. His health deteriorated. His marriage was falling apart. Then Chief Obiora learned about midnight Thanksgiving from a radio program. He started waking up at 12 a.m. to give thanks. He thanked God even though his business was failing. He thanked God even though his body was sick. He thanked God even though his wife was threatening to leave. The first night he gave thanks, I could not enter his shop to continue planting spirits of customer scatter. The Thanksgiving had created an atmosphere that rejected everything I tried to send. After 2 months of consistent midnight Thanksgiving, Chief Obiora's business recovered completely. His health was restored. His wife recommitted to their marriage. The competitors who had paid to destroy him watched in amazement. Their investment in witchcraft had produced the opposite result. The man they targeted was now more successful than ever. Before I reveal the 3rd verse, I need to ask you something important. If what you have heard so far has opened your eyes, if you are beginning to understand why midnight has been the enemy's favorite hour to attack you, share this video with someone who needs it. There are believers right now who lose the battle every night because they sleep through the hour when witches are most active. You can be the one to bring them this revelation. Share it now. The 3rd midnight verse is Acts chapter 16 verses 25 and 26. These verses say, And at midnight, Paul and Silas prayed and sang praises unto God, and the prisoners heard them. And suddenly there was a great earthquake, so that the foundations of the prison were shaken. And immediately all the doors were opened, and everyone's bands were loosed. In our coven, we call these verses the chain breakers because they demonstrate what happens when believers pray and praise at midnight. Paul and Silas were in physical chains, but their midnight worship triggered an earthquake that broke every chain and opened every door. When Christians declare this passage at midnight, it releases the same chain-breaking power. Let me tell you about a young man named Brother Emeka from Enugu. Brother Emeka was under a generational curse of poverty. His grandfather had been poor. His father had been poor. Every male in his family had struggled financially, no matter how hard they worked. Brother Emeka had tried everything to break free. He had good education. He worked hard. He was intelligent and diligent. But every business he started failed. Every job he got ended badly. The chain of poverty held him tightly. What Brother Emeka did not know was that his great-grandfather had made a covenant with a witch decades ago. In exchange for revenge against an enemy, he had dedicated his male descendants to perpetual poverty. Our coven held this covenant and enforced it every generation. Every time a male in that family was about to prosper, we would activate the covenant and destroy their progress. Brother Emeka had been to deliverance services. He had been prayed for by powerful men of God. He had fasted and prayed many times. Nothing worked because the covenant was renewed at midnight. Every night while he slept, we would reinforce the chains that bound him. His daytime prayers could not undo what we established at night. Then Brother Emeka learned about Acts 16, verses 25 and 26. A pastor taught him that Paul and Silas were in chains just like he was, but their midnight prayer and praise triggered an earthquake that broke every chain. The pastor instructed Brother Emeka to do the same thing. Wake up at midnight, pray, sing praises, expect an earthquake. Brother Emeka obeyed. Every night at 12 a.m., he would wake up and go to his small room. He would begin by reading Acts 16, 25, and 26 out loud. Then he would pray, not quiet, polite prayers, loud, desperate prayers, prayers that came from the depths of his soul. He would pray about his poverty. He would pray about his failed businesses. He would pray about the curse he now understood was holding his family. Then he would sing. He did not sing quietly. He sang loudly, just like Paul and Silas in that prison. He would sing worship songs at the top of his voice at midnight. His neighbors thought he had gone mad. His landlord complained about the noise. But Brother Emeka did not care what anyone thought. He was determined to break the chains that had held his family for generations. He was fighting for his life and his future. The first few nights, nothing seemed to happen. He prayed and sang and went back to bed, wondering if this was just another thing that would not work. But he persisted. He had tried everything else. This was his last hope. I was assigned to monitor the poverty covenant over Brother Emeka's family. It was one of the oldest covenants in our coven's possession. 4 generations of men had been kept in poverty through this document. It had never failed. No one had ever come close to breaking it. On the first night he prayed and sang at midnight, I felt something shift in the spirit realm. The covenant document that had bound his family for generations began to vibrate. It had never done that before. In all the decades that document had existed, it had remained perfectly still. Now it was vibrating like something was disturbing it. I reported this to my supervisor. She told me not to worry. The covenant was strong. One man singing at midnight could not break what had been established for 4 generations. On the 7th night, cracks appeared in the document. Thin lines spread across the surface, like ice beginning to break. The chains that connected it to Brother Emeka were weakening. I could see them becoming thinner, losing their substance. I reported this again. My supervisor became concerned. She sent additional witches to reinforce the covenant. We gathered at midnight to perform rituals that would strengthen the document and tighten the chains. But every time we tried to work on it, Brother Emeka's singing would interfere. His worship was disrupting our operations. On the 14th night, I heard something in the spirit realm that sounded like thunder. The foundations of the covenant were being shaken. The document was now covered in cracks. The chains were barely visible. Something was about to break. On the 21st night, the earthquake came. I watched in horror as the poverty covenant that had bound 4 generations of men completely shattered. It did not just crack or weaken, it exploded into pieces. Fragments of the document scattered in every direction. The chains broke and fell away with a sound like thunder. The spiritual prison that had held Brother Emeka's family for over a century was demolished by his midnight praise. Our Queen Mother was devastated. She had personally overseen that covenant for decades. She had collected 4 generations of poverty and suffering from that family, and now it was gone, destroyed by a young man who refused to stop singing at midnight. Within 3 months, Brother Emeka got a job that paid more than he had ever earned. Within 6 months, he started a side business that prospered. Within 1 year, he had built a house, something no man in his family had ever accomplished. The chain of poverty was broken permanently. Today, Brother Emeka is the wealthiest person in his extended family. His children are growing up in abundance. The curse that held his ancestors has no power over his descendants. And it all started with one passage declared at midnight with prayer and praise. Acts 16 verses 25 and 26 is powerful because it demonstrates the chain-breaking power of midnight worship. Whatever chains are holding you, whether they are chains of poverty, sickness, addiction, or bondage, they can be broken by prayer and praise at midnight. The same earthquake that shook the Philippian prison can shake the foundations of whatever is imprisoning you. To activate these verses, read them at midnight and then do what Paul and Silas did. Pray out loud, sing praises to God. Do not worry about your singing voice. Do not worry about what others think. Sing as if your freedom depends on it, because spiritually it does. Continue for at least 21 nights and expect the earthquake. There was also a woman named Sister Nkechi who had been barren for 15 years. Every medical test showed that she and her husband were both healthy. There was no physical reason why they could not have children. But year after year, the pregnancy never came. What Sister Nkechi did not know was that her mother-in-law was a witch who had placed a spiritual padlock on her womb. Every midnight, the mother-in-law would reinforce the lock to ensure Sister Nkechi never conceived. When Sister Nkechi learned about Acts 16, 25 and 26, she began midnight prayer and praise, focused specifically on her womb. She would sing songs about God's faithfulness. She would pray for the doors of her womb to be opened. She would declare that every chain on her fertility was broken. On the 40th night of her midnight worship, the spiritual padlock on her womb shattered. I know because I saw it happen. The mother-in-law who had placed it felt something break. I knew immediately that her witchcraft had been destroyed. 3 months later, Sister Nkechi was pregnant. She gave birth to twins. The womb that had been locked for 15 years produced double blessing. The chain that had held her was broken by midnight praise. If you have been in chains, if there are generational patterns binding your family, write in the comments, "My chains break at midnight." That declaration activates the earthquake power of Acts 16 over your situation. The 4th midnight verse is Exodus chapter 12, verse 29. That verse says, "And it came to pass that at midnight the Lord smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne, and to the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle." In our coven, We call this verse the judgment reversal because it demonstrates that God executes judgment at midnight. When Christians declare this verse at midnight, they are invoking divine judgment against every enemy assignment. The same God who struck Egypt at midnight can strike every witchcraft operation at midnight. Let me tell you about a pastor named Pastor Ifeanyi from Owerri. Pastor Ifeanyi had been battling a witch who was determined to destroy his church. This witch was a woman in his own congregation who pretended to be a devoted member while secretly working against him. At every midnight, she would go to a shrine and send attacks against the pastor, his family, and his church members. Pastor Ifeanyi knew something was wrong because his church members kept getting sick, having accidents, and experiencing financial problems. Good members would suddenly leave without explanation. New converts would fall away within weeks. The church was not growing, despite his faithful preaching. A prophet visited his church and revealed that there was a witch operating within the congregation. The prophet did not identify who it was, but he taught Pastor Ifeanyi about Exodus 12:29. He explained that at midnight, God executed judgment on Egypt. He said that Pastor Ifeanyi could invoke that same judgment at midnight against every enemy operating against his ministry. Pastor Ifeanyi began a 40-day midnight prayer campaign. Every night at 12 a.m., he would wake up and read Exodus 12:29. He would meditate on what God did in Egypt. He would remember how the Lord struck the enemies of his people at the exact hour when they thought they were most powerful. Then he would pray, Lord, just as you struck the enemies of your people at midnight, strike every enemy of this ministry. Let your judgment fall on every witchcraft operation against this church. His prayers were not angry or vengeful. They were appeals to divine justice. He was not asking God to hurt people. He was asking God to stop demonic operations. He was asking God to defend his church the same way he defended Israel in Egypt. The first week, nothing seemed to happen. The witch continued her operations. Members continued to struggle. But Pastor Ifeanyi persisted. He believed that what God did in Egypt, he could do again. I was not assigned to Pastor Ifeanyi's case directly, but I heard about what happened through the coven network. News travels fast when something affects one of our operatives. On the 14th night of his prayer, the witch in his congregation began experiencing strange symptoms. She would feel sudden heat during church services. She would become dizzy when Pastor Ifeanyi preached. She started having nightmares about being exposed. On the 21st night of his prayer, the witch fell seriously ill. Her body was racked with pain that no doctor could explain. No physical cause could be found. Medical tests came back normal, but she was suffering intensely. She could barely get out of bed. That same night, a shrine at home caught fire mysteriously. No electrical fault, no candle left burning. The fire started on its own in the middle of the night and consumed everything. All her witchcraft instruments were destroyed. The altar she had maintained for years was reduced to ashes. Her connection to her coven was severed. She tried to contact other witches for help. No one would assist her. Word had spread that divine judgment was on her life. Helping her would mean sharing in her judgment. She was completely isolated. On the 35th night, unable to bear the suffering any longer, she came to church and publicly confessed. She stood before the congregation and revealed everything she had been doing for years. She named the spells. She described the rituals. She explained how she had been sabotaging the ministry while pretending to be a devoted member. Then she begged for forgiveness and gave her life genuinely to Christ. The congregation was shocked. Some of them had trusted her completely, but Pastor Ifeanyi showed her mercy. He prayed for her deliverance. He welcomed her into genuine fellowship. The enemy that had been operating in his church for years was exposed and converted into a sister in Christ. After the 40 days, Pastor Ifeanyi's church began to grow rapidly. Members stopped getting sick, accidents stopped happening. Financial blessings began to flow. The church that had been suppressed for years suddenly exploded with growth. Today, Pastor Ifeanyi's church is one of the largest in Owerri. Thousands of people attend every Sunday. Multiple branches have been planted across Imo State, and it all started with one verse, declared at midnight with faith in divine judgment. Exodus 12:29 is powerful because it invokes God's authority to judge at midnight. While witches use midnight to attack, God also uses midnight to execute judgment. When you declare this verse, you are inviting God to turn the tables. Let the midnight hour become the hour when your enemies are struck instead of when you are attacked. To activate this verse, read it at midnight and pray for divine judgment against every witchcraft operation targeting your life. You are not praying against people. You are praying against demonic operations. Ask God to do at midnight what He did in Egypt. Strike every assignment, expose every enemy, bring judgment on every work of darkness. Pray this way for at least 40 nights. There was also a family in Port Harcourt who had lost 3 children to mysterious death. Each child had died before their 5th birthday without any medical explanation. The family was devastated and terrified to have more children. What they did not know was that a relative had dedicated the children of that family to a water spirit. Every child born was spiritually marked for death. A coven was assigned to ensure the covenant was enforced. When the family learned about Exodus 12:29, they began declaring it at midnight over their lives and their future children. They prayed for God's judgment to fall on the covenant that was killing their children. On the 60th night of their prayer, the covenant was destroyed. The water spirit that had been collecting their children was defeated. The relative who had made the dedication suddenly died. The family was freed from the generational child death pattern. They went on to have 3 more children. All 3 are alive and healthy today. The curse of child death was broken by midnight declarations of God's judgment. Now let me bring this all together for you. These 4 midnight verses are not random scriptures. They are strategic weapons designed to be deployed during the most dangerous spiritual hour. When you declare them at midnight, you are taking authority over the time when witchcraft has maximum power. Psalm 91 verses 5 and 6 cancels the terror of night. It creates a shield that blocks every category of night attack. Psalm 119 verse 62 shifts the atmosphere through thanksgiving. It transforms midnight from the enemy's hour into your hour of worship. Acts 16 verses 25 and 26 breaks every chain. The same earthquake power that freed Paul and Silas is released through your midnight prayer and praise. Exodus 12 verse 29 invokes divine judgment. The God who struck Egypt at midnight can strike every enemy assignment at midnight. In my 12 years as a midnight operations specialist, I watched believer after believer lose the battle at midnight. They slept through the hour when we attacked most aggressively. They woke up the next morning already defeated, not knowing what had happened to them in the night. But the believers who understood these 4 verses, we could not touch them. They turned our hour of maximum power into their hour of maximum victory. They deployed weapons that we had no defense against. They won the midnight battle consistently. Let me tell you about one more person who used all 4 verses together. His name was Brother Chidi from Asaba. He was a young man who had been under severe witchcraft attack for 7 years. Every area of his life was failing. Businesses collapsed. Relationships ended. Health deteriorated. Friends betrayed him. It seemed like a dark cloud followed him everywhere. Brother Chidi had tried everything. He had visited powerful pastors. He had attended deliverance services. He had fasted for extended periods. Nothing worked because the attacks were being launched at midnight while he slept. Then someone gave him a teaching about the 4 midnight verses. Brother Chidi decided to wake up at midnight every night and declare all 4 scriptures. He created a routine. He would start with Psalm 91, verses 5 and 6, declaring that he would not be afraid of the terror by night. He would speak this verse over himself, his room, his possessions, and his future. He would cancel every category of night attack. Then he would declare Psalm 119, verse 62, and spend 15 minutes giving thanks. He would thank God for everything he could think of, even the small things, even the things that seemed insignificant. He trained himself to find reasons for gratitude, even in his difficult circumstances. Next, he would read Acts 16, verses 25 and 26, and sing praises to break chains. He learned worship songs specifically about freedom and breakthrough, and he would sing them at the top of his voice, not caring what his neighbors thought. He was fighting for his life. Finally, he would declare Exodus 12, verse 29, and pray for divine judgment against every witchcraft operation. He would ask God to strike every assignment. He would invite the same judgment that fell on Egypt to fall on everything the enemy was doing against him. The entire routine took about 45 minutes each night. Some nights he was exhausted and did not want to get up. Some nights he felt like nothing was happening. Some nights doubt tried to convince him that this was pointless. But he pushed through every obstacle and did it faithfully every single night for 100 days. He did not miss a single night. I was one of the witches assigned to his case. We had been attacking Brother Chidi for 7 years. We knew him well. We knew his weaknesses. We knew his patterns. We had destroyed every good thing that came into his life. We considered him one of our permanent victims. What we witnessed during those 100 days was the complete destruction of 7 years of work. The first week, we noticed increased resistance to our attacks. The second week, some of our assignments started failing to land. By day 14, the sickness that had plagued his body began to lift. The chronic pain he had lived with for years started to fade. His energy returned. By day 30, his finances began to recover. Money that was owed to him from years past started arriving. Small opportunities began appearing. By day 60, broken relationships began to mend. Friends who had abandoned him reached out to reconcile. Family members who had written him off started speaking to him again. By day 90, new opportunities appeared from unexpected places. A businessman he had never met offered him a job. An old friend connected him with an investor for a business idea. Doors that had been closed for 7 years suddenly swung open. By day 100, Brother Chidi was completely free and walking in victory that he had never experienced before. Every chain we had placed on him was broken. Every curse we had spoken was cancelled. Every assignment we had planted was uprooted. 7 years of accumulated attacks destroyed by 100 nights of midnight declarations. Today he is married to a wonderful woman. He owns a successful business. He is healthy and strong. He leads a midnight prayer group that has helped hundreds of other believers discover the power of these 4 verses. Now I want to pray with you. I want to activate these 4 midnight verses over your life right now. And I need you to pray this prayer out loud, because when you speak it with your mouth, something shifts in the spirit realm. Wherever you are, say this with me. Heavenly Father, I come to you in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. I thank you for revealing the 4 midnight verses that destroy every witchcraft assignment. I thank you for exposing the secrets of the kingdom of darkness so that I can walk in complete victory. I thank you that midnight will never be the same in my life after today. Today, I activate these 4 verses over my life. I declare Psalm 91, verses 5 and 6 over my night. I shall not be afraid of the terror by night. I shall not be afraid of the arrow that flies by day. I shall not be afraid of the pestilence that walks in darkness. I shall not be afraid of the destruction that wastes at noonday. Every night terror is cancelled. Every night attack is blocked. I am covered by the Most High. I declare Psalm 119 verse 62 over my midnight hour. At midnight I will rise to give thanks unto you, Lord. I will not sleep through the strategic hour. I will not let the enemy have my night without opposition. I will fill the midnight atmosphere with thanksgiving that shifts everything in my favor. I declare Acts 16 verses 25 and 26 over every chain in my life. Like Paul and Silas, I will pray and sing praises at midnight. Like Paul and Silas, I will experience the earthquake that shakes foundations and breaks chains. Every door that has been closed against me is opening now. Every chain that has been holding me is breaking now. I am free. I declare Exodus 12, verse 29, over every witchcraft operation against my life. The same God who executed judgment at midnight in Egypt is executing judgment now. Every witch attacking me at midnight, your assignments are destroyed. Every demon operating against me in the night, you are defeated. Let the judgment of God fall on every enemy operation. From this day forward, midnight is my hour of victory. I will not sleep through the battle. I will not surrender the night to the enemy. I will rise at midnight and declare the word of God over my life. Every assignment planted while I slept is uprooted now. Every curse spoken over me at midnight is cancelled now. Every witchcraft operation targeting my life is destroyed now. Midnight belongs to Jesus. My nights belong to Jesus. My life belongs to Jesus. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Amen. If you prayed that prayer with me, something has shifted in the spirit realm. The demons that were assigned to attack you at midnight just received notice that you have discovered the 4 midnight verses. And I want you to subscribe to this channel so you can continue to receive revelation that will help you walk in complete victory. Every week, I expose more secrets that the kingdom of darkness desperately wants to keep hidden. Now, let me give you practical steps to implement these 4 verses immediately. For the first week, focus on Psalm 91, verses 5 and 6. Set an alarm for midnight. When it rings, wake up and declare this verse out loud over yourself, your family, and your home. Do this every night until it becomes natural. For the second week, add Psalm 119, verse 62. After declaring Psalm 91, spend 10 minutes giving thanks. Thank God for anything and everything you can think of. Let thanksgiving fill the midnight atmosphere. For the third week, add Acts 16, verses 25 and 26. After Thanksgiving, read this passage and then sing. Sing any worship songs you know. Sing loudly. Expect chains to break as you worship. For the fourth week, add Exodus 12, verse 29. After singing, read this passage and pray for divine judgment against every witchcraft operation targeting your life. Pray with authority. Pray with expectation. By the end of 1 month, you will have a complete midnight arsenal. Terror cancelled, atmosphere shifted, chains broken, judgment released. Nothing the enemy sends against you at midnight will succeed. Now I want you to make one final declaration in the comments. Midnight is my hour of victory. Write it. Seal what God has done today. Before I close, I want to ask you to do something important. If this message has opened your eyes to the power of midnight declarations, please share this video. There are millions of Christians who lose the battle at midnight every single night. They sleep while witches walk. They wake up defeated without knowing what happened. They need to hear this revelation. Comment below. Tell me which of these 4 verses you will declare first tonight. I want to hear from you. I want to know that these secrets are spreading to believers who need them. And remember, we are not just a channel, we are a movement. We are breaking covens, we are exposing darkness, we are equipping the church for warfare. My name is Chisom Okafor. I executed midnight operations for 12 years. I destroyed lives while people slept. I planted assignments that took root in the night, but Jesus set me free. And now I am spending the rest of my life teaching believers how to win the battle at midnight. The kingdom of darkness fears informed believers. After today, you are informed. After today, your midnights are protected. After today, every assignment launched against you in the night will be destroyed by the word of God. Set your alarm for midnight tonight. Declare these verses and watch your life transform. God bless you.